Demon Dentist by David Williams. Beware, this is a horror story with quite a lot of made-up words. This is the prologue. Prologue, that means not the story, not the real story yet, the beginning of the story. So I'm going to read the prologue to you, okay? Darkness had come to the town. Strange things were happening in the dead of night. Children would put a tooth under the pillow at bedtime, excitedly waiting for the tooth fairy to leave a coin. In the morning, they will wake up to find something unspeakable under there. A dead slug, a live spider, hundreds and hundreds of earwigs creeping and crawling beneath their pillow. Earwigs are like long insects with pincers. Pincers are like those kiap things that crabs have, okay? Or worse, much worse. Someone or something had come into their bedrooms in the hours of darkness, snatched the tooth and left a blood-curdling calling card behind. Evil was at work, and who or what was behind it? How could they sneak into children's bedroom without being seen? And what could they possibly want with all those teeth? Okay, so that's the prologue. So let's look. Meet the characters in this story. So we have Alfie, a boy with rotten teeth. Rotten, that means a lot of tooth decay. Dad, which is Alfie's dad. Gaps, a little girl. Miss Root, a dentist. And this is Miss Root's cat called Fang. Then we have Miss Hare, a science teacher. We have Winnie, a social worker. A social worker is someone who helps families in need. Okay. Then we have Raj, a news agent. A news agent is someone selling newspapers. We have PC Plank, a policeman. We have a texting boy, a boy who never stops texting. We have Mr. Gray, a headmaster. Headmaster is like the principal of the school. We have Mr. Snot, a drama teacher. We have Miss Morense, an old lady. Okay, so let's start. Okay, chapter 1, a simple case of toothache. Alfie hated going to the dentist. As a result, the boy's teeth were almost all yellow. The ones that weren't yellow were brown. They bore the stains of all the goodies, or that means all the goodies are candies, chocolates that children love, but dentists hate. Sweets, fizzy drinks, chocolate. The teeth that were neither yellow nor brown simply weren't there anymore. That means there were teeth that had dropped out. They had fallen out. One had bitten to a toffee. A toffee is a very sticky sweet and stayed there. Assorted fruit-flavored chews, that means all different kinds of flavored sweets, had claimed others, that means had made other teeth rotten. This is what young Alfie looked like when he smiled. So this is young Alfie, okay? That's because this 12-year-old boy hadn't gone to the dentist since he was very little. Alfie's last visit was when he was around 6 years old. It was a simple case of toothache, but it ended in disaster. The dentist was an ancient man, that means very, very old man, Mr. Wow. Despite his good intentions, Mr. Wow should have retired many years, so he should have stopped working many years before. The dentist looked like a tortoise, an old tortoise at that. He wore glasses so thick they made his eyes appear to be the size of tennis ball. Mr. Wow told Alfie the tooth in question, that means the tooth that is problematic, was rotten. A feeling wouldn't save it, and unfortunately, that means too bad, he had no option, no choice but to take it out, to extract it. The dentist yanked, that means pulled with great strength, and yanked with his huge steel forceps. But the tooth wouldn't come. Mr. Wow even rested his foot up on the chair by Alfie's head to level himself against it to help wrench, that means pull out the wretched tooth out. Still it wouldn't come off. The ancient dentist then enlisted, that means got the help of his even older dentist nurse, Miss Prick, was instructed to hold on to Alfie and tug as hard as she could. Even then, the tooth wouldn't come. Soon the hefty, that means a very large and heavy and fat receptionist, Miss Veal, was asked to step into the room to help. Miss Veal weighed more than Mr. Ertzwell and Miss Pratt put together. But even with all her ballast and all her heavy weight, the tooth wouldn't come. Just then the dentist had an idea and ordered Miss Prick to fetch some particularly thick dental floss. He carefully tied the floss around the forceps and then looped it around Miss Veal's ample frame. Ample, that means enough. That means very big frame, okay? Frame, that means her size. The dentist then instructed his rotund, that means large and fat receptionist to leap out of the window on the count of 3. But even with all of Miss Veal's immense, that means very large weight, yanking on the boy's tooth, it still wouldn't come. With poor young Alfie stay lying in terror on the dentist's chair, Mr. Ertzwell stepped into his waiting room to request more reinforcement. That means he wanted more help. The growing crowd of patients waiting to be seen were all called upon to assist, that means to help. Young and old, fat and thin, the elderly dentist needed all the help he could get. Nevertheless, even with a lengthy human chain, that means with a very long human chain, and an army of yankers, yankers is a made-up word, look, star here, put star, made-up word. The tooth stayed well and truly put, that means it didn't come off. By this time, poor little Alfie was in great distress. He was in pain. The pain of having his tooth pulled out was 100 times worse than the toothache. However, Mr. Ertzwell was determined. That means he didn't want to give up to finish what he had started. Sweating profusely, remember profusely, that means a lot, sweating a lot. The thirsty dentist took a large swig of mouthwash. That means he drank a lot of mouthwash. Mouthwash is not something you can drink, right? And gripped on the forceps as tightly as he could. Finally, after what seemed like days, weeks, even months of yanking, Alfie heard a deafening, that means very, very loud crunch. The dentist had gripped so hard he had crushed the tooth. It exploded into thousands of tiny fragments, that means pieces, inside Alfie's mouth. With the ordeal finally over, that means the horrible experience finally over, Mr. Ertzwell and all his helpers were lying in a tangled heap, in a tangled mess, look, all on the surgery floor. "Well done, everyone," he announced as his assistant, Miss Prick, helped him to his feet. Oh, that tooth was a stubborn little blighter. Blighter is something that you hate. Just then, Alfie realized something. He still had toothache. The dentist had taken out the wrong tooth. Oh dear.